Jesse.
Connor.
This is Enrique and Brianna.
Hi, how are you
Hi.
guys?
Connor and Lauren.
Yes.
Okay. And just a reminder, we put it on the consultation form, but due to like COVID and stuff, we've been recording everything.
Yeah.
Because it just shows people we know what we're doing and we're still training.
Yeah, that's fine by us.
Yeah. Oh, and that's also Bailey over there.
Hi, baby.
So I was reading real quick. It seems like, oh yeah, a little edgy.
Yeah, very edgy.
I can see in his eyes. He's nervous.
Astro.
What I'll have you do here is go to move your prong collar further up on the neck. So
Yeah,
it's
we're
just
working
easier.
on getting a smaller one too.
Yeah, that looks like a 3.3.
Yeah. Do we need the 2 point?
I prefer 2.5. You could also get away with the 3mm, which is this size here.
Okay.
How much does he weigh?
Like right around 60.
60.
Yeah.
In terms of nervousness, it's like the worst that he gets there.
He gets very anxious.
No,
Like
I mean,
car.
we live right across the street from Grant Park, so it's even
Oh, sure.
a lot busier than this.
Oh,
so
for sure.
He gets sores over there.
Okay, then probably the 2.25. You get more bite from less pressure, essentially.
Okay.
And I suggest when you pick it up, if you go on Amazon, Herm Springer 2.25, it'll pop up. Get one that's
So-
like you have.
I was looking at basically the same one he has now, just that smaller model.
Correct.
But they're sold out of it. They do have the ones that have like the quick release snap there.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about it.
I'm not a
Do
big
you-
fan of the quick release because they can come undone if you ever have to do a correction. I mean, technically even these can come undone as well, but less likely.
Yeah, a lot harder.
So when you get the 2.25, also buy additional prongs, just in case it's too small. You can grab some extras and fit the further. So what I'll have you do is we're gonna give him a bit of direction. Just go ahead and move him to your right, left side there. That's fine. Yep. And then every time he gets up here, you're just gonna pull up with that right hand and then push down on his hind quarters with your left hand, just to place him in a sitting position. Don't worry about the sit. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just like that. Okay. Every time he gets up, I just want you to just do this. Don't worry about being rude or anything like that. Just automatically do that. Don't worry about sit. Don't worry about stay. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Okay. Yep. So aside from the obvious. It seems like you're just wanting more control, more obedience, right? And doesn't seem like he has any, I don't think I read reactivity or anything like that.
He's got a little bit of leash reactivity.
Okay.
He's doing pretty good right now, but when we're like walking down Michigan Ave, right alongside the park, it's like you can't really see a dog within like 10 yards, and he kind of starts freaking out. I don't really think it's anything.
He can't look at them and like he wants to play, but it makes us like I feel bad because it looks like he's very mean and he just wants to run.
Plus he's a Pittie, so
Yeah,
people just assume, right?
Yeah.
And also chances are the environment. He's already on edge. He's already overstimulated, and then you see something that just puts him over the threshold there. So I wouldn't say that's out of the ordinary.
Yeah. We're not from Chicago, so he's not.
Lansing?
Yeah.
Was it?
It was a lot quieter.
Lot quieter.
Yeah, we moved here end of January, so.
What sparked the move?
Graduated from college.
Great.
So, yeah, got a job down here.
Nice. So, what are your goals with him?
Really? So I can just like, I guess when he does pull and stuff, I can physically control him, but I don't want to have to like, just have to overpower him and stuff for him to be able to listen.
Right.
You know, I just want him to be able to, I just feel bad. He goes out, you know, I feel like he's terrified just with how anxious he is and everything.
Was he like this
even
in Lansing? Was he like that in Lansing?
Not as much.
Yeah,
Sure.
It was a lot more manageable. Thumbs up, Astro.
And like his anxiety to the point is like I can't even take him out because like he's dragging me.
Sure.
He doesn't respect me as an authority at all.
Sure.
So I want to be able to take him on walks.
Yeah, do more
I'm not
with
gonna
them.
drop him.
Sure.
Away.
Okay.
And ultimately, we just want like as much control as possible over him.
Okay. Before reaching out, you guys do any research on us?
Yeah.
So you know about how I train all that stuff. Perfect. So I'll explain how, predominantly what's known as an e-collar trainer. And I'll explain how all that stuff works and why it's, in my opinion, the best tool. And in your case, what would be the most effective? Okay. So trainers kind of look at it as food, choke chain, pronged e-collar. Right? They think this is progression, and I feel like everybody thinks like e-collar is taboo. And for me, right off the bat, I just jumped to e-collar because it's the best tool. It gets you off leash control, right? But the other thing is, I don't have to worry about physical strength because the collar compensates for that. So my collar goes 0 to 127. And if I press it at 40, press it at 40, and counter press it at 40, okay, so if we find an appropriate number, it doesn't matter who's handling them, you're able to bridge that gap. So like, I had a client a couple years ago, it was an older retired couple, and they're like in their 60s or 70s, and they get 100 to 120 pound German Shepherd. Okay, and then she ended up being leash reactive. So I'm like, all right, like why would you get this dog, right? But I don't judge, my job is to fix the problem. So thankfully, that dog was very sensitive, that out of 127, her operating range was between 7 to 14. Okay. So they could walk her, the wife could walk. The wife was like a small little petite, 67-year-old lady, and walking her German Shepherd, no tension, no reactivity, all that stuff. It's because of e-collar, right? And they actually happened to have a good candidate, and it wasn't difficult, which made things easier, right? Every dog is different. I don't know what Astro's number is going to be. Astro knows. Okay? We got a lot of variables. We got the environment. We have the fact that he's a bit of a nervous, anxious dog as is, right? And then just the intensity that kind of comes with pitties. Okay, I love pits. I have a pit. I've trained many pits. And an anxious pit, aggressive pit, nervous pit, very different than an anxious, nervous, aggressive German Shepherd or any kind of breed, because the intensity that was bred into them tends to fuel the behavior problems they have. Yeah, a little dust there. So if he's really anxious, that pittiness is kind of fueling that anxiety, right? So then we have to kind of compensate for that and adjust our levels accordingly. When it comes to a case like this, first thing I do is we just got to slap some structure on them and some discipline. Okay? And we do that through obedience. Now, obedience isn't the answer for this, it's the discipline behind it. It's the consequence, it's the physicality. Okay? So, right now, his brain is overwhelmed. Like there's kids yelling over there, there's a dog just walked past by, there's a bit of traffic here, you got the wind rustling, and just the city energy, right? Some dogs, and this is not uncommon, where I get people, quiet town, Michigan, quiet town, or quiet suburb, Chicago, Illinois, or whatever, move to downtown Chicago. Yep. And then the dog has issues. The dog wasn't reactive in their hometown, but all of a sudden they're here in Lakeview, they're here in downtown Chicago. The dog is lunging and everything now. And I go, it's because the energy is so different. Okay. So, theoretically, how this works is with the e-collar, the first thing I would teach a guy like this, and then almost every case I do is heel. Okay, if you watch Cesar Milan or my mentor Richard Hines, the first thing we always cover is heel or leash walking, because it allows you to discipline the dog, establish structure, burn off some energy, and create mental focus. Okay, so essentially you teach him how to turn off. Okay, like right now, you see how he's just this, right? He's in an alert state, and it's overwhelming that it builds up. And he has to move around because his brain's like this, even though he's stationary. Okay, so that's why you're just constantly having to do this, right? But had you just came here and stood like this, you would be all this, right? So I just gave you a real simple answer. It's not the fix, but it's helping him at least settle a little bit, so that he's like, okay, I'm with Dad. We're sitting still in a place that I don't like, but this is my job at the moment. Okay, e-collar gives you even more than that, because then you can also disagree with state of mind. Okay, with the prong, even if you gave him a real good crank, if he's at a 20 and anxiety or nervousness, and you can go only as firm as 10, you're never going to tap it because he's too far gone. Okay, and it can also create more stress just because it's so worked up, and this is very confrontational with the yanking and stuff. Whereas with the e-collar, it doesn't know where it's coming from. It's non-confrontational. There's no yanking. There's no yelling. None of that over physicality stuff, like you said, like having to overpower him physically, which then causes more stress. So the healing exercise should help him, let's say in Grant Park, be able to walk through and not be like this. She should be at least more attentive to you or passive. Okay, I'm not going to say he's not going to be completely relaxed, but at least more passive, that if he did come to a stop, he's not like this.
Yes.
Okay? You should be able to walk him. Okay, no problem.
Can't right
A dream.
And that's our foundation, and we see what does this address us? Yeah, good, address for us. Good job. Good job. Okay. So it's all about just consistency. Okay. So each week is like a stepping stone. Like, you know, the first thing is always heel. Come back week 2. How'd it go? Jesse was great. You know, he's much more relaxed. We can walk through. My girls can walk them. But we're struggling with like this. Okay. And I go, no problem. Not out of the ordinary. This is how we're going to address it. Make a few tweaks. Tweaks the second half of heel. It's a 2-part thing. See you next week. Come back week 3. How's it going? Jesse, even better. Or no, Jesse, we're still struggling, right? What are you struggling with? This. Like, let's say it's reactivity towards like fast moving stuff. And I go, okay, again, not out the ordinary. Now we're going to play with power. Okay. Now, so we use the baseline of the healing exercise. He doesn't want to look at my face. I'm offended. We use the baseline of heel to see what can that fix on its own. Okay, so if I have a dog that's leash reactive, most people think it's like come in, find dogs, zap, zap, zap when they're being bad. No, it's teach them structure, teach them discipline, teach them what they're supposed to do, see what it fixes. Okay. And every now and then I get a dog that there's some stuff that's unresolved, and I go, no big deal, but now we just have to add direct consequence for the behavior, okay? So like, if Astro, like this anxiety here, right, is nervousness, other dogs can sense that and target it.
Yeah.
And what they do is they go and they just bite the crap out of it. And they're saying, stop being nervous and anxious, okay? There is no like, it's okay, bud, like, you're good, right? This is just Chicago. No, they just bite him and go, we cut the crap. It's similar, right? So if we don't get it through structure, then we get it through consequence for the behavior itself. So we can disagree with the reactivity, or we make, like here, you see how he's just so focused that way?
Yeah.
I can disagree with that until he lets go of that, and then he's over here, and he's more so in this context. So you see how we're talking, we're having a conversation, and look at it, right?
Yeah.
He's out of the conversation. So through remotes, we can say, don't worry about all that's going on over there. We're over here. Okay, so then since he's not so focused, he can start to dial down and potentially relax.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll take that. So, and then it's really just how you say, so it's first 2 classes feel. Yep.
Astro.
Call your dog. Call your dog. So here, give a correctional pop. Correctional pop. Pop. Firmer. Firmer. No sound. Now relax. Okay. No petting. Okay. Alright, good. So when you pet, you reinforce. Okay. I know you're trying to settle them. You're coming from a good place, but you're actually telling them keep being this way.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we need as much coaching as he does too.
It's okay. So and you're doing what everybody does, right? Good job. So because I was letting it go earlier, but definitely that lunge. I know you're trying to relax them, but you were still reinforcing what just happened.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So it was just like biting them with what you have to say we disagree with this behavior, but you can see it didn't phase him. It's not out the ordinary. I have a couple other cases, same thing. Their dog was on a prong and was too far gone that this wasn't working anymore. Then now we're working with the remote. Okay, don't, and if he yelps, don't feel bad. Don't think, oh my God, I hurt him. Okay, it just means it registered. Okay, and then if anything, you should see an even better response and say, holy crap, that was a good one, right? Good. So if you're wanting, there you go. If you're wanting full control, I have 6, 9, and 12-week programs. Okay. The way I approach this is I don't teach what you don't need. I come in, I assess the problem, I know what you need to address it and to control it. But then if you're wanting more, then I give you your options. Okay. So 6 is like the bare minimum. Leash walking for sure is the first thing that we're going to target. And then by week 3, it's like, how's he doing? And then if we need to focus on behavior for class or 2, we do that. Come back, how is he doing? He's doing great. Now we can work on like recall. Okay. In my opinion, heal and recall or come and cold are the 2 most important commands, aside from addressing behavior, to teach them. Okay, that's 6 classes. Now, if you decide we don't want recall, we'd rather have like heel, behavior, and have them not move for like 2 to 3 hours while we're at like, you know, at a patio or something, then I just teach that instead of the recall, right? The 9 week is kind of the in between. It's heel, recall, behavior, and then we begin stationary work. And then the 12 week is like all the commands, and then we build it to off-leash reliability. Okay, so you can heel off leash, come off leash, down off leash, all that stuff. And in Chicago, there are off-leash laws. So in terms of application, people ask like, when can I use it then? I'm like, well, if you go hiking, like if you have a very active lifestyle, like that's where it comes into play. So like the 6 week, I look at it as we take our dogs to the dog park, and he's only off leash at the dog park, right? So we walk there and we walk back. That's pretty much it. I go 6 weeks.
Yeah.
The 9 week is we do that, and we like to go to restaurant patios and like have our dog go on brunch with us. So, okay, 9 weeks. And then we do that. Plus we go hiking. We go to the beach, and we go like places like this where it's unenclosed, right? And the dog can potentially run off. That's off leash. That's a 12-week program. Okay. Now the variable here will be his behavior. Okay. Obedience is easy. I'm not concerned about what can I teach him within 12 weeks obedience wise. It's if we end up spending, and you got a dog approaching here by the way. If we have how'd you say 3 classes for whatever reason, maybe we're struggling with something at Grand Park or whatever, and we take 3 classes to kind of detour and focus on that, and then you're like, Jesse, you got me. I go, great. Now we pick up back to the obedience stuff, but now we're 3 classes behind, right? So then if you hit the end of the 12 classes, maybe we don't cover anything, but you're happy with what you got, then go, great, thanks for the opportunity, let us know if you ever need anything, right? If it's though, we want to finish and like teach them the rest of the obedience stuff, then you just tack on 3 more classes, or I'll tell you like 1 more class or 2 more classes. You do that, and then you're good to go. Okay? Questions so far?
I don't think so.
In terms of like what e-collar you would need, I would suggest the Doctor 3500. Maria will send you this information.
We do have one. I don't.
Yeah, with you. Is it a yellow remote?
I forgot. It's a black remote, but it's
The circle?
yeah.
The boss?
Yep.
Is the box fairly large?
I don't think so. I don't think it's that big.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
How big are you talking? I think it's probably like on him, probably like that big.
We have, this is not the boss,
Uh-huh.
but the box is almost the same in size.
That looks nice.
Does it?
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Okay.
Very close.
If it's the boss, I don't mind that you start with it.
Okay.
I know the brand is e-collar Technologies. It's a good brand. It's secondary. I would put it back in the sitting position. The reason for that is if he decides to lunge, because you gave that slack for the lay down, you
He
can
has it.
Yeah. Right. So the boss, in previous experience, I started off with e-collar Technologies when I first started my career, and I had I got flooded with a bunch of aggression issues, and I noticed they weren't getting better, and I was like, you know what, let's try a different brand, which is Astro, and then all of a sudden it changed. So I found with aggressive behaviors it made things worse, and actually I just talked to my mentor, Richard Hines. He said that, right? That the e-collar Technologies make the dog more aggressive. Yeah, and the output is different. If you feel these collars, like all the different models feel a little bit different. The e-collar Technologies, in my opinion, is sharper, whereas these are duller. Okay, it's a dull contraction. That's my theory on that. So I've just not even bothered with it for like 8 years. I know he doesn't have like aggression really, it's just like the reactivity. But that reactivity is classified as an aggressive response, right? So it's technically the right power for him. Okay, it's the right model that he would need of that particular brand. And you're doing good. So we can start off with it, see how he does. If he's progressing, I have no problem with it. Okay. If we're having troubles or we're finding like it's agitating him more, then we'd want to switch to the Doctor 3500. Okay. The only thing that sucks is then you've lost a couple of classes and you've lost a few weeks of training and stuff. But it's not going to make him like permanently worse or anything like that. it'll just slow us down a little bit. Okay. How long ago did you get it?
Okay. Yeah, I think about a year.
Because if you got it on Amazon recently, I would just tell people send it back.
Yeah.
And exchange it. But I have no problem starting with it. Okay. Have you used it at all with them?
Minimally, just because like I don't know how to use it correctly necessarily, so I didn't want to just shock them all of it, basically.
Yeah, no. Good.
He mostly uses it like when we go back to his parents' place. They have like a fenced-in backyard.
Sure.
But all their neighbors have dogs, and he likes to run up to the fence and try to fight the dogs.
Sure. Fence.
So we'll use it for him there so he can be off leash, but like at the same time, we still don't know like what exactly is beneficial to us to do for him to like resolve that.
So it's always wise to contact a professional when doing the collar.
Out of curiosity, real quick, how much is the model that you would like us to use?
I think it's the same as 252 attacks.
Okay.
Yeah. So obedience and behavior are two separate things. Think of them as education and morality for humans. So education, obedience, math, English, science, since they come. Morality, don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, don't jump on board and fight. Okay. So this is like kind of tricky. I don't care really about the obedience. I care about the discipline behind the obedience, which resolves these issues. Okay. The obedience is for control, right? We walk him off leash, we're hiking and all that stuff. He's running around, I can call him back. I go to a patio and he's laying down, things like that. So it's more of the control aspect. But the discipline that we're applying behind it is what helps with like all this other stuff, stimulation, the nervous system, right? When it comes to behavior, if he's like barking at the fence, it's really about consequence that says don't do that, right? So like, if he does something to another dog that they disagree with, they would fight him to check him, right? So then he crosses the threshold, they say, don't do that. He then has a response to either submit and go, okay, sorry, or go, screw you, and fight back. And then it goes back and forth, right? So for humans, if we have a disagreement, we can disagree verbally, but it could become escalated, so eventually we're fighting, and next thing you know, someone's on the ground, right? Same thing for dogs, but dogs are more prone to use physicality because they're primates. So, when it comes to the yard, I've had people do it. It's like, I recommend they don't, but they're just like, yeah, I just like zap the dog's place, stop doing it. I'm like, that's technically correct, right? It's just that they do it appropriately. So most people think when they see aggressive response, you slam it because it's aggressive. And they go, no, actually, you start low, you work your way up, you find the appropriate number. And I'm not saying that I have not slammed dogs, because I have.
Right.
But I do a bunch of stuff prior before I go, okay, yeah, that's what the dog needs, here we go, right? Because people tend to think, like, especially when they see these tools, they just think like, wail on the dog. And I go, there's some precursor work for that.
Yeah.
Now, we had a pack walk this morning here in Lakeview where a lady just showed up. She requested a consultation, but then she's like saving money. But then she showed up to the pack walk, which is perfectly fine. It's anybody can join. And she had the e-collar, and the dog was like worse than this. Okay, like reactive, pulling, right? So no formal training, and I go, all right, this is not what I would normally do, but due to constraints, we're gonna just disagree with the behavior, and we're gonna just go for a walk. And within 2 minutes, the dog cut the crap and went for a walk with us. Right? So there's like no real right or wrong in my book. It's just like what's gonna work best for the moment. And I educate you as much as possible on all of those things, because life is not black and white. Right. You're gonna turn a corner and something's gonna be there and it's gonna be crap, and maybe he freaks out, and now it's like obedience has no meaning here. It's how do I get my dog to settle back down and get back on track and just continue like it didn't happen. Okay? Questions about that stuff? So we've changed the way that we operate because of the whole epidemic and stuff.
For sure.
Thank you for meeting us here, by the way. The reason why we chose this place is this is not even the busiest. It gets busier. Okay? If you're training in this environment, which is very similar to Grand Park, everything should be easy peasy, because this is like the worst that it can get. Okay? So people are getting realistic scenario, and some of them it's even worse. They're like in a quieter part of Chicago, and they come here. I'm like, hey, if you can do this, you're good.
Exactly.
Right? So it's all verbal instruction now. e-collar allows me to do this. I don't even need to touch the dog. My exercises are very simple, okay? And I've broken it up into steps so that you're progressing, it's making sense, but you're also getting reliability and effective training in a real environment. Okay, we're not in a closed off room where there's nothing going on. You know, I love my facility. It's a 13,000 square foot facility, and I love to use it. But this is where I like training because people learn more. Okay, with you doing it from scratch, now everything's related to you, not to me. Pre-COVID, I would work with the dog. You would watch, you would observe. You go, okay, see what he's doing. I give him back to you, and like 70% of the work would be done, and then you would just do the rest, right? The con of that was, if there was nuances that I was doing that I know how to work with, if the owner ever came across it, they're like, what do I do, right? So here, if things happen, if things go south, I'm coaching you through it, and I'm helping you figure it out, because in life, when you're gonna need the control, it's because shit's going down, right? Transference is super high with e-collar, which is why I love it. So like after you work with them, or even if you work with them first, once it's been established and you transfer the leash to the other person, he's already in that mindset. As long as you're doing the exercises as instructed, so check those there, just like smack them, right? At the appropriate number and everything, boom, just transfers, right? So we have a couple of clients now. It's like a family. So first it was the lady. First it was the husband. He worked with the dog, and the dog was nuts. Then gave it to the wife. The dog was great. And then 2 classes later, they gave it to their daughter. Easy peasy. Everything just transfers right away. Okay. We've been filming everything because one, it's a lot of information. You might forget some stuff. Just go back to your video. You can watch it. Okay. It also acts as a reference point for other people. So like, let's say you come across something and you're struggling with it, and I go, hey, you know what? I got another case similar. Here's the video. So you can kind of watch somebody else doing it, see their nuances, and go, oh great, here's another source of information. You can use it to your advantage. Okay. And also it just proves that this works. We have like 6 or 7 clients now that we've been uploading. And you know, if you want to just learn more, lesson 1, the one we just had today, the dog's name is Max, 7-pound pit, both human and dog reactive. Okay. He was 85 out of 127 in terms of the collar, and boom, doing really good. And then we just saw him already tell you he did even better. Okay, and this was a dog that was pulling everybody down, solid pit, and it's been easy peasy since doing the e-collar. Okay. Let me think here. So we went over that. Power. Oh, in terms of how we teach it, have you guys ever been to a TENS? I'm sorry, a chiropractor or a physical therapist? Yeah. Have you ever had TENS? That's the machine they put in the muscles to move the muscles. Yeah. It's the same technology. The way they apply to humans is similar to how we apply to dogs. We start low, we work our way up. So you would say like, oh, that's too much. They lower it, they let it do its work. Right? Same thing for Astro here. We start low, we find his number relative to what's going on, because that's going to be different. He lets us know what's too low, what's too high. If I'm trying to train him and I'm doing repetition after repetition and he's not getting better, it tells me I'm too low. If I'm doing the training and all of a sudden he starts jumping and yelping all over the place, that tells me I'm too high. I'm just adjusting it now. Okay. Ideally, we don't want to get yelping and rolling around and stuff like that. On occasion, it happens. I tell them no big deal, dial it back down, and just continue working. It's not that I don't care about the dog, but it's if you're too worried or worked up about the nuances, you're not going to get anywhere because you're constantly just worried about stuff. Okay. There's logic to it, and once you learn the logic, it makes sense. But things may happen. So like if I get a dog that blows up in reactivity, people are like, well, I don't want to hurt the dog. Well, me neither. But I also want the dog to fucking lunch and bark, right?
Exactly.
So if I'm here and I can't look and I'm like restricted, I just jack it up, boom. Worst thing is the dog yelps and shuts up. And then just look and go, 100. Okay, 100 was too high. But I know 40 was too low. So my answer is somewhere between 40 and 100. So that's where like the logic starts to kick in, okay? Because life's not going to afford you always to be able to, you know, just address it appropriately. And that's all normal stuff. Okay, I like to work e-collar only in the beginning because I want everything to be done through the remote. Because at the end of the day, if he gets off leash or anything happens, that's all you have, right? Now, I understand he's a bit more solid, so we can always pair remote with prom, but it ends up being another point of pressure. So like when you're pulling up and you're doing this, you're using pressure to guide him into the sitting position. Just tell him like, dude, chill out, okay? Similar with the e-collar, it's a point of pressure, it's contractual pressure. Okay. So if I'm working with him and the prong kicks in while I'm doing the e-collar, I'm like, well, I don't know what really did the work, right? So if it's always done to the remote, everything's at the press of a button. So dogs learn in context. So if I put him in the heel and I stop and he forgets to sit, you're good. And he forgets to sit, I don't say anything, I just tap the button, he sits automatically. Okay, it's all about context. If he's 30 feet away from me and I decide you're getting too far, I just press the button and he comes in closer because I don't want him all the way. I'm just saying that's too far. And he'll learn, oh, just come closer, right? But if I decide I need you all the way, then I have my recall command as well. Okay, so we do use words, but in the beginning it's there's no talking, it's all silence, it's all remote color.
Okay.
And then once the behavior is conditioned, then I label it.
Gotcha.
People try to label it before it's done. And I go, no, then it's a sloppy command. There you go. It's a sloppy command, right? Because if he's still like weaving and stuff and you say heel, then heel becomes weave and go through my legs and do all this nonsense. I want locked in on my side. Locked in on my side until I release you, give you permission. Okay? You're good. That's some intensity there. Yeah, good job. There you go. You're okay. You're okay. There you go. Good. And then there you go. And relax. Good job. All right. So here, this is Bailey. He's doing a daycare training with us. He's already wrapping up, but heel should look. You can just heel right here. Is you see the leash?
Yeah.
How it's slack? There should be no tension on the leash between you and the dog. Okay? It's all about mental control. Right now you're using physical control because of what you have. Okay? E-collar, in my opinion, is the only tool that gets you mental control. Okay? Because I can override the dog, I can override all this kind of intensity here. Right? You can see the stress and the smacking of the lips and the staring. I can disagree with that without having to be so confrontational. And you can see, even though you're giving firm corrections, he's still just stuck in that mindset. Right?
No, the prong wasn't facing at all.
Right. So, e-collar is always my go-to. Okay, even if I have a 6-month-old puppy who's completely friendly and stuff like that, I just do e-collar. Get off leash control. You don't have to worry about it if your dog runs off or anything like that. Oh, gets off or anything like that. Because we have that with us. Okay. Now, most common question I get is, when does the e-collar go away? In my opinion, when you need it, it doesn't. So when you go for walks with them, if he's going to go play and all that stuff, you have it on him. In the house, if he's a great dog, you don't need it. Okay. Look at Astro, the 3 to 4-year-old kid up here. Forever. Okay. Humans, we mature. We become older, wiser, and we learn to not do things. Right. He doesn't. He's forever that 3 to 4-year-old kid, and 3 to 4-year-old kids need to be told what to do. Go get dressed, go put up your toys, go eat dinner, blah, 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 right? Same thing here. With the e-collar, I like to refer to it as like a cop on a collar. When it's on, he's gonna know like you have control and keep himself in check, right? Doesn't mean he's always gonna be perfect, because life's not perfect, but at least you have the means of, if he gets out of line, I can get him back in line again, okay? When you remove it, he's gonna know. You don't have control. So what happens now? And if you can't make him comply, then he becomes a gambler. And then he's like, ha, I can get away with it.
Yeah.
Okay? So it has nothing to do with the training method, it has nothing to do with your skills or my skills as a trainer. It's just reality. There's a very common thought process of like, once the dog learns, you shouldn't have to do anything anymore. The dog should just be a good dog. And I go, no, because they're like a 3 to 4-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Right? If he can get away with something, he's going to opt to do that because he's opportunistic as humans are. Okay? Questions? This isn't out of the ordinary. You know, I see this stuff all the time. It just comes down to how much control you're wanting. Okay? Maria will get in contact with you. She will send you training form and then the model that I recommend. You can start off with the boss. I don't have a problem with it. If we see that we're struggling with the behavior, I'll tell you, like, I suggest we switch over. Okay. And then as soon as you get the new one, just start drilling out what we've learned, so that by the time I see you again, we'll see if there's been a difference made. Okay. I can only take you as far as you're willing to go. So like, let's say to cut this anxiety here, and I tell you, go to 100, right? We work our way up, but we end up going to 100, and it cuts crack. And then I see the following week and I go, how'd it go? And you're like, oh, Jesse, he wasn't as good. He was pretty bad. I go, well, how high did you go? 40. 40 nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to be willing to do that. You're not going to screw your dog up psychologically or emotionally. You're not going to ruin your relationship. You're not going to change his personality. You're not going to make him a robot. Okay. It's all about consequence. Dogs relate consequence to bites. Right? Like your prong, will never do the same damage that a dog bite would.
Yeah.
The e-collar, I could max it out and give him the harshest corrections. It still won't match the damage of a dog bite. Okay. But I have the ability to get as close to that as possible. Okay. Anything else?
I think it sounds good.
So Maria will follow up with you. If not tonight, you might hear from her about Monday.
That's
Sundays
fine.
is her day off and stuff.
Yeah.
This is the location that we meet right here. I might, with you guys, probably work with you over there, which is a little bit quieter.
Okay.
Okay, so we still got some energy going on, but we don't have to worry about all the people and stuff going by. So that's what we did with Mac. We worked with Mac over there, and then today we were working with him over here because we had made so much progress. Okay. If you want to learn more, you can go to my YouTube channel either through my website, or if you look up Canine Perspective, my video should pop up on Google. You just click one, and then you can see everything's uncut, unedited, so you see beginning to end, how it works, that it works, and the logic behind it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay?
Sweet.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Right.
Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure, Connor and Lauren.
Yeah.
If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out.
Okay.
Maria will be in touch with you, and anything else, let us know.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take
All right.
care, Jesse. Thank you.